get calls. I started like honestly just for fun. So I'm in school now, and before school I was traveling a ton for working consulting. I was on the road all the time, but loved it.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Doing okay. How about you, Greg?
Doing good.
Craig.
Welcome.
Craig,
Well,
I will get you all that information. I just had a lot going on, unfortunately, and now the kids are home for a week, so
Yeah, no worries.
I have some back end work to do before I give you those files.
Sure, no problem. Well, we'll see if anybody else shows up. It's Good Friday and all, so might just be us. If let's see, it looks like somebody's texting me trying to figure out how to get in.
I do like this platform a lot.
Yeah, it's working real well. And, you know, they're on AppSumo right now. So
Yes, that's where I got it. You mentioned it,
deal.
and I went right on. It's a really good price, too. I forget what I paid, but it was cheap. I like cheap.
Yeah. Well, we'll just, I guess, you know, for now, guys, we'll just assume that it's just going to be us. And you know, since Marshawn and Nick, both of you guys have been in the training before, unless you want me to, I'll skip over, you know, going over the basics and stuff like that. And we can just get right to whatever your questions are, you know?
Yeah, I'm okay with skipping over the basics. I have like 2 questions. Well, maybe one or more than 2, but the number one is I got that Ring Central going, but it doesn't always dial out from the system, and I already authorized it and connected it to the SalesNexus as far as, you know, how you do the login and credentials.
Yeah.
And I also downloaded the Ring Central app. I also downloaded the I think it's the Google store, the web app. I downloaded that as well, and I'm just trying to see why is it not connecting. I mean, when I do my calls.
Are you saying it works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time?
Well, when you select the call, it goes into, like, you know how it goes into a call. It goes into like the call tab, like you're going to be able to say, okay, you made the call. You know,
right.
It was a follow-up call, like the tab, but it doesn't automatically just dial out. And I have to use that extension browser almost like for it to work.
There is one thing, let me show you, and because I'm not the expert on troubleshooting that, but I do know one thing that might help. When you go into the settings, and actually I'm going to do it this way, because one thing just for everybody, next week we're going to be doing an update, and there's a couple of things that have changed about just how you navigate around in SalesNexus. So one of those things is in your account now, you have a little, what we call the hamburger menu over here. Well, that's gone now. And now you have a profile over here, and that's where you're going to find my settings and my record and manage account, learning center. That's all our support stuff, and log out, which some of that used to be over there. And then also under reports, now that's where you're going to find dashboards. And then finally, under campaigns, that's where the automation plans are now. So we're just reorganizing things based on a lot of feedback from folks that we met via AppSumo. But anyway, back to your question, Marshawn. I'm going to go over here to my settings. And here now I have the phone settings. Oh, wait. Are you guys not seeing my screen?
No, I'm only seeing you.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Shoot. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. So what I was saying a minute ago, now you see this profile picture, and that's where you got my settings and my record and all that, right? So I went to my settings, and then you got phone settings right here. And you see this right here, Marshawn, where it says pop up log a call on click to call?
Yes.
Try turning that on and off and see if that helps you. And then also in your Ring Central settings, there is a setting, and this is the part that I just don't know off the top of my head. And I don't have Ring Central installed on this computer, but there's a setting that you can turn on in Ring Central that will, I just can't remember what they call it. They have a term for it, but basically what it means is when you do the click to call, one mode is it will call you and basically ring your soft phone, and you have to answer it. And then when you answer that, then it actually makes the call to the person you're trying to call. So it's just kind of an extra step that I guess keeps you from accidentally calling people. And then if you turn that off, when you click, it just dials the phone. There's no interim step. So I wish I could tell you what that setting is off the top of my head, but try and find that. Let's see.
That's not the app to connect, correct? Because I know in Ring Central they have app to connect, but that's a different step. What you're saying as far as the click, like you said, to enable where it like rings the phone or these rings the software, the VoIP, then you accept, then it calls out. But I'll try that option, and then I do know there's more people jumping on the call, and I do have like I'll just see if I don't figure it out, send a support ticket in.
Yeah, for that part for sure, because I can't really show you anything here today on the Ring Central anyway. But so the support guys can help you with that. Let's see.
That was one of my big concerns as well, Craig.
Have you tried it yet?
So I set it up yesterday, and I was sometimes it was working and sometimes it was not. So kind of the same thing as Marshawn.
Okay. Well, the fact that it's intermittent, that I guess that's kind of encouraging. Like it's working, but there's something that's breaking it in certain circumstances. And in my mind, I'm thinking of all kinds of theories, but I don't want to waste your time looking into stuff that because I'm not the expert. We need to check with the support guys.
Okay.
Let's see. I saw Ethan joined and Rynell. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rynell, you have not been in a training session before, right? Looks like you're muted. Well, let's see. We'll just keep going, guys.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we do. Yep.
Yeah, I just been jumping on the Friday meeting. I went in and trying to like work my way around the system, trying to set it up for myself, using myself as a test. I'm just a one-person show.
Okay, but you've been in at least one of our trainings before and seen the basics?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, that everybody else has too. So we're just kind of, using this as sort of a Q&A session. So whatever questions you guys have, just go ahead and fire.
The other question I had is when you add other team members, and so I added 2 team members. When I look at, they can send the emails from the templates, but they don't have the ability for like the automation like I have on my side where I can, set up the automation. And so, I went in as, profile or at least security settings. Everyone should have the ability to either edit, change, but is there something that I'm missing? Or
yeah, let me show you that. So when you go to settings and then manage users, there are 2 different kinds of users, or 3 different really. The ones shown in black text here are, you see right here, security level standard. And the ones in blue are security level admin. So only the administrators are going to be able to see the automations. So that's probably what happened. You set them up as standard. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it does. Cause I mean, I didn't want them to be able to like delete records or something like that of that nature. And that's not a, can we define
Yeah.
that for administrators as well? Or can anyone just edit, delete and do all that stuff?
No, let me walk you through that because that's a really good question. So basically what we want to do is we want to give somebody the ability to do all the things that SalesNexus can do, but not delete all your data or go and mess up all your customers or whatever, right? So you want them to be administrator. That's what gives them the ability to create the automations, right? If they're standard user, then they can, their customers can use the automations. Automations can be triggered on their customers, but they can't go and create automations themselves, right? So if you want them to be able to create their own automations, then they need to be an administrator. But then you see right down here, allow delete, right? So you can uncheck that, and now they just can't delete anything from the system, right? So that's one piece of that puzzle. And then another one that a lot of people never notice is over here on the left, you see mass update and export rights. So if you click on that, you can go through your whole user list and you can check off and say, Dawn can export lists. Like, so if she does a lookup of all her customers, this allows her to export it to a CSV file, right? But if that's unchecked, she cannot do that. And then the same thing, this is the mass update, which is where you can take a list and automatically populate some field with a certain value. You can turn that on and off for each user. And then back on the manage users part for everybody else, it sounded like, Marshawn, you already saw it, but wait, no, I'm in the wrong place. I need to go to user permissions. Here, you can also designate who can create email campaigns, right? So you could say both administrators and standard or just administrators. And the same thing with who can create and edit email templates. So you have those two options there.
Yeah, I've seen that. And
okay.
I put administrator and standard. So I was able to capture that.
Yeah, but if you want them to be able to create automations, then they need to be administrators. So you could set them as administrator here under manage users, right? And then go over to mass update and then uncheck allow delete, right? Like we looked at earlier, uncheck that. And then go over here to mass update and export rights and uncheck them there as well. And that way you got it pretty well locked down. Another trick that I should have mentioned a minute ago is right here. If you're making them standard users, I know this a lot of moving parts here, but just for everybody to understand all the options you have, you can say standard users can only see their own contacts. And what that means is if you hire a salesperson and you set them up as a standard user, they will only see contacts that they are the record manager of. And so that's just kind of a safe way. If you have a bunch of salespeople and they're all competitive and kind of poaching on each other's leads and accounts and stuff like that, you can kind of lock it down. So there's just no way one guy's going to see the other guy's stuff.
Craig, can I stop you right there?
Yes, sir.
Are we able to see their records? The
yes.
admin.
If you're an admin, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I figured, just wanted to verify.
Sure.
I got a question with that, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lock it down to where they only can see their own records, let's say that someone they're looking to search, they can't see no other records, only the records only the contacts that they are the record manager of.
That's right. So so sometimes people get confused, right? you know, so I might create a neat little dashboard here, right? That shows me, you know, how many leads have come in or how many calls we've made and all of that, or like this renewals graph, right? And as an admin, as the owner, I can see all the customers and I see the numbers here, right? But then I can push that graph to my sales rep. And when they run the same exact graph, it's going to look different because it's only going to include their accounts, right?
And how do we get to that graph again? I know I set it up before, but to set up the graph is that your dashboard?
That's right. So right now for you, it's in that little hamburger menu on the left, but next week when we do the update, it'll be here under reports and you go to dashboards and you won't have all this long list here. You'll just have like my dashboard and maybe whatever else you've already created. But if you want to change them or customize them, you go to create and edit, and then you choose the page, and then you choose a specific graph, and then it'll pull up the settings for that graph. And here we can start playing around with how it's organized. And then just to put a finer point on that for everybody, let's say I make some changes to this and I want to make sure all of my sales reps are looking at the same thing, right? I can go over here to push dashboards to users, and I can say Dawn and Jane and Jerry push, and now they're going to see that same graph on their dashboard.
And
But
there's training videos on this, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. What else? What other questions you guys have?
Can you look at the email templates? So I noticed that when you pull it up and let's say they want to email someone, it's a basic generic or pretty much default template, but you have to kind of customize it and edit it for that person so like the mail merge, for example, you know, how to get that person's name so you're not having to go and type their name and it'll just pretty much pull their name in automatically.
Yeah. So I think you're describing like if I'm on a specific contact and I click on this email template button, right? Mm-hmm. Here in a new account, you only have like one option in this list. And that's just a generic, like you said, really simple text only email, right? But over time, the list will get longer. Basically what shows up in here is any single email campaign. And I'm saying that really precisely because there's some details behind that. I don't want to confuse everybody right now, but just kind of keep that in mind. It's not every template that you ever make. It's only templates that are part of a single email campaign. But to get back to your question, I'm trying to find just a simple text example. Whatever, this is close enough. Whatever, it doesn't matter the template that you choose, but you notice here, these are the mail merge fields. And I can, on the fly, when I'm about to send this to Map Market, right? I can make a change to the text. And that's the way this one's set up, you know, so the sales rep, when they're sending this out, can customize it for the individual customer, right? To chat about your building security or whatever, right? And then I hit send email and out it goes, right? So I think really, Marshawn, your question was, how do I create a template that I can use in that way that kind of has the basics that I want, right?
Well, going back though, before we move forward, those mail merge, I guess those defined, you know, like the colons on the sides, that's pretty much going to tell the system, pull their name in, put your header information as far as whoever the contact record is at the bottom, because you don't really edit all that stuff. You just only edit the text in there, kind of. So I kind of want to go over, understand that a little bit more in context.
Yeah, so that's in the template when you're creating a template, right? So let's say that what you want is a basic kind of sales follow-up template, right? I just got off the phone and finished a call with a customer, and I'm sending them my contact information and a few links to do this or that, right? So maybe you want to have your logo in there and maybe your social links and, you know, your phone number and all of that, right? But pretty basic. So you might want to just start with this text only email, and you would select it and give it a name, and we'll just call it the sales follow-up. And now it's going to open it up in the email editor. So you can see it's already got some of these mail merge fields in there. You don't have to leave them if you don't want to. You can take them out. In fact, I just happen to know that that's the one for the first name, but let's just take it out and kind of start over so everybody can see how this works. So, you know, thanks for your time today. Here are the links we've discussed, right? Or whatever, you know, you need to send them. And then up at the top, I want to put their first name. So you notice whenever I'm in a text block in this editor here, I get this little toolbar, and you see right there where it says merge tags. So yeah. I click on that, and then here's add contact field.
Oh.
And that allows me to choose any field in my database. You know, so like, you know, first name, obviously, but, you know, anything else, right? And so it could be really detailed and specific, you know, since you have, and then I go here and I say, number of bathrooms, right? In your home, I recommend the, you know, and maybe I got a field where I'm going to mail merge in their sort of recommended product, right? So I'm going to choose the product field. And so you see, right? I'm mail merging in things from that contact's record. And then down here in the signature part of things, I can mail merge in my info also. So I go hit the merge tags, and then instead of using this drop down where it says add contact field, I use this one where it says add my record field. The my record is your record in the system for you as a user, right? So now I'm going to choose my name. And in this case, this is a kind of a tricky detail. You want to use the contact field, not the first name and last name, because contact is just first name plus last name. So it's just simpler. And it'll be formatted more consistently. So I put in the contact field, and then maybe I want to put in the phone number. There we go. And, you know, whatever else you want to put in there. Could put in your website, etc. Now, the reason this is important, this my record part of it, you notice you can tell the difference. These have the con at the beginning, and these have the my. Otherwise, the numbers are the same. But now when I've done it this way, instead of putting my name specifically and my phone number specifically, is now anybody on my team can use this same exact template, and they don't have to change it, right? It's personalized for the customer, the recipient, and also the person sending, right? So let's just save that. If I want to maybe have my social links down here at the bottom or something like that, right? I can go over here to rows, and I can add, I don't even need to do that. I can just go to content and social and drag that right here. And then when I click into that block, here I can put in, links to your actual social sites, right? Instead of these generic URLs. So you just put them in these boxes and that's it. Now we've got a nice little, we could put your logo in there, click on content, put the logo at the top. I'll just use mine. Probably want to make that a little smaller. So I'll go over here and drag this down, something like that, right? So now I save that. So now we've got this template, right? Any questions about that piece yet?
No, I mean, that clears up a lot of things as far as helping me now. I was able to create the templates on the other side, but with the mail merge, that's kind of where I was unsure at, but you pretty much cleared it up by showing
Good.
the difference on which one's for the client and which one's for the salesperson or the account or the, my record.
Okay, good. Now here's the tricky detail that, it's hard to figure out the first time on your own. So we've got this template, but it's not yet part of a campaign. So, and remember I said, the emails that appear in that drop-down list that we were looking at earlier are only the ones that are a single email campaign. So we have to put this template in a campaign or it's not going to show up there. So the next step is the crucial detail. So we go over here to start campaign with this template. And I'm going to call this maybe the same thing, sales follow-up, right? Or no, that's what I want to name the campaign. My subject line might be great to talk today or something like that. So I hit next. And now if what we're doing is creating a template to send as a sales follow-up after a call, and we want it to appear in that email template menu, then we're done. We don't have to do anything else. We just save it right here. And then if we go back to a customer record and click here, we will maybe have a little trouble finding it. We can go over here, sort alphabetically, and see if I can find it. There it is. So there you go.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, when you choose recently used here under the sort, once you start using the templates, all the stuff that you use most frequently will automatically be on the top of the list. So it's not hard to find. So now, just to be clear for everybody, this is how you send an email to just that one person, right? The contact that we were on. This is not how you send an email to a whole list of people. That's a different story. You can, if you wanted to, if Matt told me, hey, be sure and copy my COO too, and so I'm going to put Bob at mycompany.com, and add him as a CCC or a BCC or whatever. You can even change, well, I'm not going to get into all the details and confuse everybody. And then you just send it. Down here you have some options for attaching documents. While we're on this, let's go ahead and look at this. If I click here, I can upload something, or I have all these attachments already available. So you see in this list, I have public library documents and I have contact docs documents. So I'll show you this, how you get the documents in there in the first place. But just to explain it, there's a public library where these documents will be the same no matter which contact you're looking at, right? So that would be like your main corporate brochure or a product spec sheet or something like that, or price sheet. The contact docs are documents specifically attached to that customer record, right? So, maybe I've created a proposal for that customer, right? So I can grab that right there, and now that's attached. I hit send, and out it goes, So to go into how you do that, when you're on the customer record over here on the right, you have the somewhere in here, contact docs folder or tab. So this is where you upload those documents. So these are the documents that will appear when I'm attaching documents to an email for this customer. If I go to a different customer, I'll see different documents, right? These are documents specifically attached to Matt. You can drag and drop them over here, or you can use the upload button to get them in here. And then the public library part, you would go to campaigns and add to library. And here, you can upload documents, and now they appear in that same drop down, and they're marked as the public library. The other way you can use these, which is kind of handy when you're sending out a mass email, is I can take a document like this and copy that URL so that now I can put a button in my email template that says, get the document here or whatever, and they click and it downloads the document. So that's a better way to send out a blast with a document.
I have a
Anybody
question.
have questions about that?
Yeah, I know that one part of the time you had said that you don't want to upload a lot of stuff because it takes up your data. And so how do you minimize, using up all your data with overloading it with documents and stuff like that? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it with documents, to be honest with you. I think you have 5 gigabytes per user, which is a lot of space if we're talking about PDFs and documents and spreadsheets and stuff like that, and even images. The only thing that almost nobody ever hits their limit. The only thing that I've ever seen get somebody to that limit is if they're uploading a whole bunch of videos where, a given file will be hundreds of megabytes or even gigabytes, right? But for documents, it's not that big a deal. Shouldn't be. Anybody else have any questions about that? What else? What other questions you guys have? Let's see, Ethan, we had an email exchange with Mark and you earlier this week about, kind of organizing the stages, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you've already got that nailed or not, but do you want to kind of go over an example of that?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. So just to bring everybody else up to speed, Ethan's company, what they're doing is they're really using SalesNexus to build up a partner network, not so much linking directly or reaching out directly to customers, but more helping partners reach out to customers. And so they need to just keep track of, as the relationship with that partner unfolds, everything from, initial discussions and just educating them about what they sell and everything, all the way through to now they're an official partner, and now they're reaching out to customers and doing quotes and stuff like that. And Ethan's team will kind of facilitate that quoting process and stuff. So they just want to keep track of who's at which stage in that kind of life cycle. So, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but just as a simple example, there's some fields already built into the system. And you'll notice if you look at the dashboards and stuff, that a lot of those are already built to work around this ID status field and the lead source. And let's see, I think for you guys in a brand new database, I'm not 100% sure if the sales stage is actually there or not, but if not, we can look at how to create that if we need to. But really, in most cases, you can use these 3 fields and keep track of things pretty well. Every business, you may want to add some additional fields to kind of have some more nuance to it, but just to keep it simple, the way you'll see in your account when you first start it, the status field will be something like this. You know, the generic, is this person a lead or a prospect or a suspect, etc., right? But we can change what's in this list, right? And then lead source, you know, that's intended to be, how did I get to know this person, right? Did they come in via my website? Was this, you know, an email outreach or a cold call or somebody I met via networking? You know, what you want to do is customize this list so it's the things that you do from a marketing point of view to get connected with people. And then sales stage would be, you know, something like this, right? As what are the different steps in your process and where are they in that process, right? So, you know, so maybe this lead came to me as from my website, and they are currently a prospect, right? You know, Ethan, for you, it might be potential partner or something like that. And then instead of having client here, you might have partner, right? And then for sales stage, once they start to, you know, quote their customers, you might say, okay, this guy's doing a quote for a customer, right? And now that quote's moved to the next step, and you're sending samples, or you're doing, you know, on-site visits, or whatever that your process is, right? And then then you get all the way to they've closed the deal. But the point I'm trying to make here is it really doesn't need to be complicated, because if you think about it now, I can do a search of my database and pull up every partner that is currently in the quoting process, and just have a quick list there. Okay, these are the guys I got to check in with, right? So let's kind of look at the back, you know, how do we get all that set up? So first we're going to go settings, organize and customize, and we'll go to status field first. There we go. So here, I can take stuff out of here. I'm not going to do that because it'll kind of break some of the demo stuff that I do all the time. I'll take a couple out, just things I put in other demos. But then I can go here and say, you know, I want to add partner, and maybe potential partner, or, you know, you might want to call it something else, qualified partner or something like that. There we go. And I can go to my sales stages. And I can do same thing here. I can change this to, you know, maybe you don't have a samples step. I don't even know what VAC was supposed to mean, but maybe it's a simpler process like that, right? So that's how you would, you know, customize the drop downs in the fields. Or if you want, you can just create a new field, you know, call it whatever you want. Then when we do our lookups, we'll go back over to contacts, create lookup. Now I can create that really specific lookup like we were talking about. So I want ID status is equal to partner, and sales stage is equal to quote, right? I'm not going to get anything back, but you would set this query up and then save it right here and say partners quoting, or whatever you want to call it. Save that. And now I got that saved query, so that whenever I go here to contacts, view all contacts, I can find my partner's quoting list, and boom, there's that list going to be, right? And if you want, you can lock it here. So that makes it your default. Whenever you come to this page, that's what you're going to see from the get-go. Is that making sense, Ethan? Am I?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I've got a pretty good idea. I've got a lot of contacts in now. So I was able to import contacts pretty successfully. So I've got about like 250 in there at the moment. I've just been sorting through and organizing them now. And I've got a pretty good idea of how to do it. So
do you have, you've already kind of decided on how you're going to use the fields to organize things?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I've even put I've put a couple opportunities in as well that I've got 2 leads that have come in that they're about to close. So I was able to categorize those properly. And I've been toggling around with the lookup so I can organize the partners off of who's got opportunities. And I've got a good idea of how I'm going to do the tiering now. So that was very helpful.
Cool. Good. Yeah. And just for everybody, a couple of tricks that might help you, Ethan, but probably everybody else too. When you're on a list, you can always go to view lookup under contacts, and whatever list you've recently looked up will be here, and you can go to edit list, and this is just a quick and easy way. Like if you're doing what you were just talking about, Ethan, I need everybody that I just looked up, I need to make sure that their ID status is set to partner, right? I just select the field and the value and hit update, and it's going to put partner in the ID status field for that whole list. So once you've decided how you want your fields to organize things, and then you've got these lists where you need to make sure those fields have the right values, that can be a quick and easy way to do it. Another way to do it is when you're on a list view, you can just click and hold, and you can see how that is now going into edit mode when I click, right? So you can kind of use the list view like a spreadsheet so that you're not having to go into a customer, come back to the list, go into a customer. It can be a little faster if you're just sort of going through and making edits to the fields one customer at a time. So just a couple of tricks. What else? What other questions you guys have?
Could we go back to the status? Because I know like in mine, it's got 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm like, I don't like those numbers. And I want to put either, warm, qualified, something like that. And I know that if it's already predefined, then you don't want to change it in the system. You might want to just create a new one and then put either character or numeric, correct?
No, it's not going to matter. There's no harm in changing it. In fact, let's just do that. So if you go to settings and organize and customize, and go down to the status field. There we go. So you can go here.
I know your screen is black on my end. I don't know if it's maybe my internet, or I don't know if it's me.
I'm going to stop sharing and reshare here. Do you guys see it now?
I see it now.
Okay, good. Yeah, so there's the status field. And here you can change these drop-down items. And see, the important thing, Marshawn, that I think you were kind of referring to there is I can delete something from this drop-down list, but it does not change any of the contacts that have that value already in that field. So it's not changing your database. It's only going to change the options you have when you're updating new contacts. If that makes sense. So you can take out everything that's in there currently and put in whatever you want. And then you might want to use that edit list mass update feature that we looked at a minute ago to, what you could do is, I'm trying to think of a good way to do an example of this, but I might come in here and say, okay, I had a bunch of people that I had put as status equals to 1, right? So I can look those guys up. I only have 1 in this case, but that's okay. Now we'll go to edit list, and we can say, all right, well, I want to just update the status for everybody on that list that I just looked up to booking, right? So you do a lookup of everybody that matches the old value in that field, and then you come here to update them with the new value that you want them to have. And that way you've got all your old data caught up to the new way that you're organizing things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I went back and I was on my other page updating and getting rid of those numeric 0, 1, 2, 3 and putting in what I wanted best.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, well, what other questions do you guys have? One thing I just want to remind everybody, next week, you're going to see an update to your SalesNexus system. And the main thing that's changed is that hamburger menu that you see right here, right now, will be gone. And so the My Settings and My Record, Manage Account, Log Out, that's all over here under your profile. And then Automations is going to be under Campaigns. And Dashboards are under Reports. So that's what's moved around. Just so that doesn't confuse you. What else? Anybody have any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm new here, so I haven't ran across this yet. But I get emails after I purchased a product, and they still offer me the product after I purchased it. So is there anywhere in the system where once somebody purchased a product, they're removed from that campaign, and you can place them in another campaign for another product? How does that work?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So let me make a note here real quick, because this is going to be a good example. Yeah, so we're talking about like a lead makes their purchase, and now you want them to stop getting the campaign for leads and start getting the campaign for customers that have already purchased, right? So the way you do that is, first of all, when you're looking at the customer, somehow their status will change from, prospect right here, right, to client, which you can do manually, like I just did by switching it myself, or it could be happening, connected to your shopping cart or something, and it's automatically updating that field. Doesn't matter. If that field changes, then you're going to have an automation that triggers your new client campaign, right? So let me find, yeah, here we go. Our new client welcome campaign. And this just says if their ID status is changed to client, then trigger this whole campaign down here, right? And so just so everybody knows, when an automation triggers a campaign, whatever campaign was already scheduled for that contact is removed. So they're not going to end up getting both. So right now you would have one campaign that's like for your new leads, right? Let me see. Yeah, so if somebody fills out a form on your website, right, then this is the automation that triggers the right follow-up campaign for them, right? But then, they respond to one of these emails and they go to your website and they make a purchase, and that status gets changed to client. And then so the automation that we looked at first will trigger this new campaign to be turned on, and it will turn off that new lead campaign. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Yeah, the automations are super, super powerful, and they're just kind of infinite ways that you could use them. So it can be a little bit overwhelming. And what I always recommend is don't try to figure all the scenarios out before you start doing stuff, right? What I would do is figure out which of the scenarios is the most, high volume for you. Like for most people, you get a lot more leads than you end up with clients, right? So create something that takes care of an automation, a campaign and an automation that takes care of those new leads, and go that way, going through that whole process of creating the emails and creating the campaign and then creating the automation, you can kind of see how everything works and fits together, and it'll start to become clear. Oh, I can do this with my clients and this with my past clients and so on and so forth. So better to just kind of pick one thing and get it set up and working, and you'll learn a lot from that and kind of know how to go from there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. All right. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions? One thing I almost forgot to mention. Last week, we did our webinar on our B2B contact database. So for those of you who haven't seen about that already, in addition to enriching contacts within SalesNexus and putting in missing contact info, you can also build new lists of customers based on industry and title and so on. And that's a separate system that you need an account to. And you can see here's the pricing options. If you want to get, about 1,000 contacts, it's $500, or you can do ongoing subscriptions where you're getting a certain number of new contacts every month. In our webinar last week, we talked about tripling these numbers. So in other words, you can pay $200 a month and you're getting 1,350 contacts per month instead of 450. So that deal is available until Monday. We've extended it till Monday. So with the holy weekend and everything, we wanted to give everybody plenty of time. So that deal's available still until Monday if you guys are interested in that. And if you want to see more info about it, let me grab you guys well, actually, I'll just put this link right in the chat. And you guys, there's a video right there on that page that kind of shows you how it works, how you can search the system. Anyway, I appreciate everybody's time, especially on Good Friday. Hope you guys all have a great Easter weekend. And if you want to take advantage of that contact database, just shoot me an email, ckline@salesnexus.com, and we'll get you set up.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.